So I've already created a sprite. So it's right there, it's my goal. So I'm ready for my Pac-Man to actually have something to eat. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a variable for my score. Now we've done this before. We go up to our variable section and we click make a variable. Always give it a really nice descriptive name so you know exactly what's going to be stored in there. Now, it's really important that you do put your code on the goal because we're going to be moving this goal. So because we're going to be moving it, we need to actually make sure that we are doing all of our code in the goal bit for this section. So when I start the game by pressing that green arrow or that green flag, I want to set my variable score to 0. Now that way, every single time I start my game, it can start from first scratch and it's going to be set to 0. So I've done that, check. I then need to once again make sure I'm coding the goal. I need to use an if statement to check if it's actually touching our player. Now, this is really, really important. You want that if statement to be checked again and again and again and again. So you have to use forever. Now, if you don't use forever, it's only ever going to check that code once, which means it'll check it right when we start our game, and we want to constantly check if it's in the right, if it's actually gotten that, if it's touching that player. So we use our conditional statement, that if. So we want to check if we are touching our player. So in this case, I've called my player Pac-Man. So this is asking the question, are we touching, is the goal touching our Pac-Man? Now, going back to our checklist, we've got that if statement, if it's checking the player. If that's a true statement, we got to increase our score. So there's a change score by 1. And then, okay, onto the last one, we want to move the sprite to a random location. And that's why you have to make sure you're doing it on goal, because it's in motion. Otherwise, we don't have access to the set X and set Y. Now, if I did this and tested it, making sure to start my program, you'll see it always goes to 0, which is in the center of the screen. So let's just move that up here. You'll see when I get it, my score increases by 1, but then it moves to the center. So we've used this before. We want to move to a random location. Random, random, random. Oh, okay, I know. I have to go to my operators, and I want to pick a random number. Now, our screen, if we look at our mouse here, it tells you the coordinates. So the smallest possible x, called that negative 131. So we're negative 231. And to the opposite side is going to be 231. And just to double check, top bit is, top bit for the y, so at 180. So I'm going to duplicate that again. So here, to a negative 180, and to 180 again. So now, every time I start it, notice how my score back to 0 again. I'll get the snack, or get our goal, and then it moves to a different random location across the screen.